there, it's me, Celia. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a reading today about Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty is kind of like I guess you could say a self-help influencer. He was on Oprah. He had talked to Biden about mental health. He had the #1 podcast for a while in the health and wellness sphere. He made a bunch of money, and what kind of came out is that, well, people had known for a long time that he was plagiarizing a lot of his Facebook and Instagram positive messages. He literally just would copy word for word what somebody else already made up in an Instagram post or a Facebook post, but he just changed the name to his name. So it's why did you do that? You could have just reposted other people's stuff. And so he's been doing that for a long time. Prior to that, he lied about his origin story. And that's just so bizarre. Because don't we know better in today's digital age? You can't get away with that stuff. Bikram tried to do it. Someday I'll do a reading about Bikram. And now Mr. Shetty's doing it too. Maybe it will come out from the reading. I don't really want to give all the details. You can just watch a million videos about him here on YouTube if you really want to know. He also lied about his monk training. He kind of grew up being a part of Hare Krishna, which has some really problematic things about them. Told people that he went to college for business or something. He went to hear a monk speak, and at that moment he realized that he needed to do something like that. So then he went to some sort of study sort of thing, and he said he spent 3 years, but really he just did a couple months or 3 months studying in India. So he just kind of fast-tracked his training as a monk. People who are Indian and know about the specific place that he says he studied with, or the different type of programs that are available, say that what he did is not necessarily as legitimate as he makes it seem. Already he's kind of starting out saying a lot of lies. And then what really kind of took off and got a lot of attention was that he had this coaching program. I think it was $8,000, and in the marketing for the course, or some description about the course, he said that it would count towards credits at a few English universities, but it never was going to do that. It never counted for credits towards a master's degree in psychology or whatever it was. That never was a part of it. Oh, another thing too, he lied about his own education, his university education. So it's why did you have to lie about that? People would have bought your course. Those universities were we don't have, there's no way. We've never talked to him, we don't know him. And after that came out, he took it down, that part of his promise of the course. So I just want to know, what is his marketing tactic? What's his MO? Why is he doing this? Can't you be successful without having to lie and to plagiarize and to make up your origin story, to promise people that your course is going to give them something that it won't? Why do you have to lie about your education? Do you feel really insecure that you have to act like you're somebody you're not? Do you fall in love with those stories and you can't differentiate between what's true and what's the story? Sometimes I see that in readings. Or you really trying to get one over and make as much money as possible, and so you really want to milk your story for everything it's worth? What is going on? Okay, so I'm hearing one more time. Okay, so I'm gonna do Jay, his audience, and the pain point that he's going for with them. And then I want to go from there. So here's Jay. 5 of Air, White Sage. His audience is the 8 of Air, Licorice reversed. And what's in between them is the Daughter of Water, Chamomile reversed. So Jay showing up as the 5 of Air, White Sage. I think he very deliberately leaned into the guru persona. He really wanted to walk right into that mold. Because like this card is about like, see what I have to offer. And like White Sage is you know, used for ritual and like cleansing. It's kind of like one of the only type of herbs that people would know for like any sort of spiritual work. And so I think he wanted to enter into the spiritual, psychological, mental, emotional sphere. He wanted to work in that area because he saw he could take the guru image and run with it. The fact that this is like, these new bundles over here are not far from the plant that's potted here. I think that is showing me that he modeled himself after somebody he knew. So this could be, I don't know if he conspired with anybody that he worked with, you know, in the Hare Krishnas, but at some point he followed in somebody's footsteps that he knew. I mean, it could just be he's a chop off the block. What is it called? When like you're a part of this thing, a chop off the old block. Is that the phrase? What is it? Like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He's directly related to either people that he worked with in like his specific Hare Krishna group. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Like maybe somebody just put that bug in his ear, like, oh, if you know, you can make a lot of money or be really successful or have a lot of fame, have a lot of people follow you if you become a monk and you know, have that message and have devotees and things. Although he's modernizing it a lot. You know, he's mostly like on Facebook and having a podcast. It's not like he's traveling around and having, you know, a bunch of adoring fans dressed a certain way for him, or like, you know, not necessarily in that regard. This is more like a digital age guru in a way. The 5 of Air too is like, thinking of Rider-Waite-Smith, it's about like, there's conflict, things are unfair. I'm burping, so I think that is part of where he's coming from. Maybe he was trying to imagine a life where he wouldn't be a Hare Krishna, but like he couldn't really follow in their footsteps because they have such a bad reputation, and people in the West are kind of privy to that now. So he had to create an origin story to distance himself from that. In the field he originally was in, like business or something, he maybe thought that was too hard, or like the cards were stacked against him. I mean, it's also like 5 of Swords could be about having a bad reputation. So he could just be that way. I'm kind of thinking of Bikram a lot. I need to do reading on him because he really had a bad reputation and he was like proud of it. He's like, I'm the bad boy of yoga. So his audience is the 8 of Air reversed. These are people that want to be freed. These are people that want to be released of that which traps them. They are ready to go through this open door and go to the other side. I heard that there's ruins, like the ruin is coming up. It's kind of like in the West, the like church used to be so strong for the last 2,000 years, and now it's crumbling. In its place, people are desperate for something else, like the need to have spirituality and to have things to manage our mental health and our well-being, and that kind of like invisible psychological side of ourselves it's more, you know, needed than ever. It's like people are asking, like, please help me, basically. I mean, I've read comments, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about him, and people were like, I really liked him, and you know, he's nothing groundbreaking. He's basically regurgitating a lot of positive information, but you know, going onto Facebook and seeing you know, especially during like the pandemic and like election times, and how things have become so divisive over the last like 4 or 5 years. People really liked hearing what he had to say. People thought he was using his platform for good. And I think he knew that. He's like, I need to give people what they need. So his audience was just ripe for what he has to offer, some sort of assistance. Oh my gosh, and I'm even seeing that something during the pandemic, you know, it's just became even more relevant to have support. And then people were like glued online as well, like a captive audience in more ways than one. And what's between Jay and his audience is the Daughter of Water reversed. Oh, chamomile reverse. I mean, this is such a sweet card normally. They have like the child energy of like, you know, somebody's helping them make the tea, and I love this like landscape in the back. It's all like wintry. I don't know if it's spring or fall. Could be either, but in any case, it's like, we got you. We're going to help you through this. I'm going to pass down, you know, important feelings and ways to be emotionally like, I got you, is like kind of what this card says. It's like the continual nurturing of familial ties and kin keeping, and how young people and kids, you know, we're like destined, is what I heard, to like be around people that can help us, you know. We need that. We want it. It is good for the whole community all around. But to have it be reversed, like this is, we're not kin keeping. Yeah, this is almost like a fear of emotional growth, a fear of going deep, a fear of truly listening to one another. It's like a rejection of, it's like a fear of rejection, but yet really wounded and like stunted emotional growth. A lack of tending, a lack of relationships. It's like the lonely, isolated child in here. So that's the energy between them. Wow. So I'm not sure if this relationship that wasn't well tended and the stunted emotional growth, if that was always the case between Jay and his audience, or maybe that has now come since he has been called out. I'm getting this was always the case, okay? Because I did want to know, I was thinking of the energy between Jay and his audience in general. Like, what is his general relationship and message? Is that why people would then want to do the course with him and pay that money, or like do more things so they could be upsold? Is it was really surface level information, really basic, like self-care, mental health, Facebook post 101, you know, like, you really matter in this world. Okay, well then how are you actually going to heal your self-esteem? You can hear that all day long, but you take my course, then I'll show you the deep dive. I think he did, as a marketing level, I think he did know how to do that funnel of like, you have the podcast, you get them on your email list, you sell them something, and you upsell them, then you give them the deal, and then they're in your world. Okay, but I am hearing that some of his audience was frustrated with the lack of, or like how surface level they were wanting more. The Warrior of Air Oregano, 6 of Water Borage, and the Healer of Fire Damiana. And here we have like a super hot card coming in for the win. It's gonna clear some stuff out. It's gonna, like, hey, you need medicine, we're gonna get it for you. Like, somebody's preparing this steam bath. It's like, we're ready to go. We got all the supplies. We're on this. So he was very strategic. He was like one step ahead of what his audience needed and wanted. I felt like he's specifically guiding and cultivating his audience. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm just seeing him working behind the scenes of like calling in people, being like, you want my things. It's almost like, it's not really a spell. It's just not even manifestation. He's just very mentally, intellectually, computer, algorithmically honed in on what he needs to do to get ahead. He follows trends. He did like, hashtags is what I'm seeing, or like any sort of thing where he knew how to get the algorithm. He knew how to get number one in the podcast. He knew the right things to say. He knew people's pain points. These cards are upright. He knows how to use this energy, basically. The Six of Water Borage, something with like the family right underneath this card too. Going on people's pain points with family stress and drama, and giving people a sense of being welcomed and coming home to themselves. He did what he needed to do to get people attracted to him and make them feel safe and held in a certain regard. But still, it's right underneath this Daughter of Waters reversed. It's just part of the story. Like, he's not really meeting their needs from childhood. He's telling them about their needs from childhood. We have the Curandera of Fire, the Healer of Fire. Oh yeah, he knew the right things to add in to like keep the Western mind like piqued, like their interest, like, oh yes. I'm seeing like he does have some healing capacity. I just see him doing like energy work, and so far there's nothing like negative. Like, he's not doing, like, I wouldn't say he's manipulative. He's just serving his goal. This row of cards is like, I'm going to be really focused and one step ahead of what my audience needs. Like, at the center of the issues is the need to be held and seen and to be part of a family and to feel nourished. Like, you're part of our family. You're in the Shetty family. I don't know if he ever said anything that. I wonder if he had like a club or some sort of membership. I think he did have a membership, right? I'm not really sure about that, but something of a sense of belonging. And he knew that people needed healing and that he could offer something to them. He's like, I will give you what you need to feel good. And I can think about that ahead of time. He's very anticipatory. I have the Four of Earth, Willow. The Mother of Air, Motherwort reversed. And the Three of Fire reversed. So this last row here, I feel like this is part of the downfall. With the Four of Earth, Willow, he started to get greedy. Maybe he was always greedy, honestly. I think maybe it was always a cash grab, maybe from the beginning. Because remember, he did start out in business. And it was like anything to do to get the money. And that justifies all the lying and the plagiarizing and the upselling. And in his mind, he's just doing what you need to do to sell. He kind of thinks like all's fair in business. And in a way, it's maybe true. It's like, take this $8,000 course at your own risk. You probably sign a little waiver that's like, we will not be held responsible. So yeah, legally, probably you can get away with a lot. Maybe not, if somebody puts a case against you or something. But he didn't care about his reputation, or even his mission. His biggest thing was to make money. So greed is like definitely a big part of all that. We have the Mother of Earth, the Mother of Swords reversed, Motherwort. So this could be somebody who's really bitter and cold, somebody who's overly critical. It could be like disorganized thoughts. I wonder how he was as a coach. Like, did he put on a show for his talk show or his podcast? I just really heard short and cold. So maybe, you know what? I think I might have heard that in something about him. That like part of, a membership or a course that he sold was that you would have a call with him, but he was probably on it for like 2 minutes and like said the most generic basic thing. He did not go deep. He did not really get to your, really help you. He did not hear you. He's not listening to you, and he's not speaking to you. He's just regurgitating, and he just wants to get the heck out of there. I don't even really think he was that respectful of his audience, but he had to kind of play the part in order to get a part of the business structure. I see him a little bit resentful, actually, of his audience. Kind of the machine that he built of like, oh geez, now I have all these needy people and they're looking towards me to be their guru, but maybe I'm following in that role, but I don't actually want to be there for them in that capacity spiritually. The early success he had, this is even before the pandemic, got to his head. I think that he, even as a young person, was kind of groomed to be like, someday you will be really successful. I'm seeing, this could be a metaphor or something, but I'm seeing him in like a church, community, ashram type setting, and an older person telling him like that he could follow in his shoes, and he could, that he had the mark of a leader. I think he was kind of typecasted too because of the way that he looks. He really goes crazy about his like blue eye stare. He's like little Zoolander or something. And I'm seeing that with the Three of Fire is like, he had success early on and it got to his head. He feels like it's coming from within him, this like power. And I do think that at least on the energetic realm and mentally, there is a part of him that is quite adept. Connecting with people, he's terrible at. Playing a part, he's okay at if he can mentalize it. But actually, like, I don't really feel the spirit within him, which sounds really cheesy, but at least not in a capacity that he would be able to share as like a true monk or something. He's not a spiritual advisor, is basically what I mean. Yeah, and the calendula being kind of associated with youth and children and babies and stuff. Not always, but being associated with the sun, you could say, from a young age. In his youth, he was kind of set up on this trajectory. I almost feel like he's kind of trapped in that trajectory. So I'm going to look at these as a whole spread, and then I'm going to do some Cowboy and Aliens and Lenormands, because there's still a couple questions I have in my mind. Well, I just want to know why he lied. I kind of get it. It was in service of what he was this product he was trying to put out. But I just don't understand, why couldn't he put out the product without lying? And why did he plagiarize? To me, he doesn't even see like it's a problem. He thinks other people do it. He's like, that's what happens. People do it to me, I do it to other people, whatever. Yeah, a lack of boundaries, I'm hearing, is very common with him. Like, I feel like at a young age, he had ideas that were taken from him. And I don't know what he was kind of messed up about, like what is intellectual property, or like how to be respectful and ethical when it comes to the intellect or your expression. Okay, but let's look at the reading. First and foremost, in the center of everything is the Six of Water Borage. This is him filling that guru role, because look at the outfit. I got this for Jared Leto in Jared Leto's reading at some point. He wants to be adored and he wants to be worshipped. It's kind of like an unmet need from childhood. And wanting that child level of connection and oneness and being taken care of. So he knows that energy, and that's what is the center of why people like him. Because the question to this reading was, what's between Jay, his audience, and the energy in between them? Like, what was his intent or purpose? So he's like, I'm going to make people feel connected. And then the pandemic happened, and he's like, perfect. Social media algorithms, perfect. People listening to tons of podcasts, perfect for him. It felt right for him to like continue on that train of like, I'm going to give you what you want. I'm going to give you little bits of nourishment to make you feel good. It's all about the feelings. It's emotional, and it's kind of going on deep childhood type things. People want that sense of connection. That's what he's after. This calendula, Three of Fire reversed, is kind of across from this Four of Air. And this is how I thought that he was like an apple that didn't fall far from the tree, that he was conditioned, groomed, brought into a leadership position, kind of told, brainwashed even maybe a little bit, like told the story again and again that like you can, you know, be like a great successful guru, you know, you can have like the equivalent of an online ashram or something. Yeah, so he really was going to step into that as his role. He's like, that's what I'm going to do. And then the other corners, we have the 8 of air reversed, licorice, the need for people to have some sort of burping. It's something like rising up out of the rubble. That's what I'm hearing, with their own spirituality. It's like, we're not spending any time going to church. Or I mean, some people do, but like the people who listen to his podcast are like kind of lost spiritually. And so he's ready to guide them into his world through his portal, which he considers his funnel or something like that. And then the 4 of Earths is that this is very, very, very lucrative for him. Knight of Air, he was very specific strategy. He was very quick, like this is what we're gonna do. High output. He had like help with tech or knew things about tech. He's really taking that into consideration. So he knew what he was going to do. He's just expert marketer, basically. You know, but to these people who are like lost and wounded and not guided, and they kind of felt that way about him as well. Like he's giving us little tastes of what it, you know, healing and belonging and peace is like, but we need more. Like, I don't think he solved a lot of problems. I think he just made people feel heard, seen, validated. And that can be okay for maybe like 10% of people. That's just popped in my head. I don't know, maybe more. Other people who really want to go deep with him, they're like, I'm ready to do more. Those are the people that wanted to follow in his footsteps or, yeah, and take his course. Now, his course was not to help you as an individual. It was to help other people. So you could become a coach, which is, you know, if you want to be a coach, that's fine. But just know that it's unregulated. You know, you're just like a consultant in a way. You can't do as much you can do a lot with coaching, but it's kind of harder, you know. You don't even need to be a coach to like have a podcast about self-help or mental health or whatever. You know, as long as you stay in your lane. But for some reason, people were like, I need more from him. And he's like, I will give you the healing. It was part of his strategy. It was like the overselling of the transformation that could happen. But I'm trying to see. Sometimes like the diamonds mean different things. Okay, so it was just anchored by him not really delivering on that and being like cold. Cutting even. Like I think that his coaching course to become a coach, I think that was like his least good work. Like I bet he got more in depth in his podcast, but I think the course was really not that great. Okay, and so this is like the J line going down. He's coming off of a template about how to be a guru 101 Hare Krishna edition. I'm gonna sell, I'm gonna hustle, I'm gonna deliver, I'm gonna like do this stuff at a rapid clip and make a bunch of money. So that really was him right there. Now his audience was like, we need help and support, we're lost spiritually, give us the healing. But it didn't really pan out because it was empty. That's what I'm hearing. And they felt empty, and they're like back to square one, no better than where they started from. That's what I heard. Now, if you like Jay Shetty, that's perfectly fine. But like, honestly, his things were like, love yourself. It hurts to be rejected. Just like super basic things. Like you can get a free book at your library. You know, you could listen to the Snoop Dogg affirmation song and like get as much out of it, or maybe even more because you're not being ripped off. It's things that we already know. I mean, he ripped off so many of his little Facebook post that was like blah 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 Jay Shetty. It wasn't his, so you could get all that information from other people. We have 2 reverse cards pointing at the need for connection, need of belonging and the needing of guidance and the feeling of like childhood nostalgia and good feelings. Like, I just want to be safe and cozy and secure, and I want to have a family that loves me. And that was like the core of the energy, is like you felt like you belonged to his stuff. You belonged to his email list. Oh my God, this is kind of reminding me of somebody I used to know. I watched get into fame on Instagram, and this person would always write these posts that were like, my dear, dear sisters, I love you so much. Like, you are all my kin. You're on my heart. To like her, 10,000 followers or something. But like, when you read that, you think it's for you. You're like, oh, she thinks I'm her kin. That's so nice. Like, we really do have a special bond. But no, it turns out that she calls everybody her family. And I think he did that too. Family boundaries are messed up. I think maybe if we looked at his family, we could find something there. Okay, but yeah, the daughter of waters reversed, and then the mother of earth reversed. This is like a bad parent-child relationship. Wow, those are really kind of cool cards in a way. Not cool cards, but the way that they lined up, I want to use that as like the basis for the next reading. So it's like childhood relationships not being tended, the need for family belongingness, and like the parent energy not coming through. So I shuffled and I was asking, why was he like this? What's his MO? Why did he lie? Why couldn't he just tell the truth? And I heard, you can't handle the truth. The bartender, I will give others support and listen with empathy. He knew how to serve people what they needed. The sheriff, I will stand up for what's right. The prospector, I will find joy in the process. Look at this card here. Is somebody with like medium deep skin and the blue eyes. Reminds me of Jay. There's something about this twisted sense of service. It's like, I'm gonna give you what you want to keep you coming back. The sheriff, I think that he did not think that what he did was wrong. Who are you to tell me what's fair, what's right? These pictures remind me of posts, like his Facebook posts. And he's just like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And all's fair in love and war and business to him. The prospector is, he was digging for gold. He was looking for his riches. I do want to read these upside down someday, but I'm not quite proficient at all of them yet. Okay, so we have shapeshifter. I will get to know my true self and be comfortable with who I am. Yeah, remember I said you can't handle the truth. There is something, he does feel ashamed of being in the Hare Krishnas. He had to repackage himself. If he said he was a Hare Krishna, there's no way he would have got to this level of fame. He could have had followers and stuff. People here, still follow them. Their numbers have gone way down. He was also involved in some sort of particular monk ashram thing that was all about just making money. I can't remember what it's called. The space pirate. I'll find the silver lining in whatever life throws at me. Yeah, he is opportunistic for sure. He's gonna play any part he needs to play to get ahead. And the blacksmith, I will take pride in a hard day's work. So he's willing to do whatever it takes to be successful, and he doesn't care about what's fair. He could go into conversations about what is just, what is right. I almost think that like if he talked about that sort of things, maybe he does talk about that. I feel like he's super freaking surface level, and he's almost passive aggressive or like demeaning, or like if you had negative feelings, you probably would say like maybe be a little bit nourishing about him, but I think overall he would kind of just be like, let it go or something, like, and not really address the issue. Because I'm feeling like he did not necessarily address his issues. Okay, now I'm going to do my little Lenormand. But I want to see with Lenormand, like, what is he up to now? And what is going to happen to him in the future? Like, he's still doing his stuff. He never really had many consequences for what he did. He probably made his 100, 200 million dollars and is just sitting pretty somewhere. But what is he gonna do? I think he's still posting, last I heard, although some of those videos could be old. Oh yeah, he wrote a book about like love and stuff. The Clover, he might have some luck on social media. Try to have a redemption arc. He might try to have a redemption arc. And I kind of was, I mean, this is in real life. Maybe he is trying to heal and be a better person. I'm hearing no. He might come across that way. First I said social media. I think at his level, if you have millions of followers and like the number one podcast, you could have the garden be about social media. In general though, in everyday people's reading, it's about meeting people in real life. Maybe he'll have some events. I don't think he's going to become Christian. I think this is about, yeah, he does want to resurrect his career. I mean, the cross is also sometimes about a burden you have to have. Luck, social situations, burden. The Tower, the Letter, the Stork. Oh, he might actually get in trouble with some of the universities that he said that his program was a part of. I think there's an institution that's going to tell him that he's in trouble, because the Letter and the Stork is kind of like news is coming in and it's kind of official, like this is addressed to you, it comes in the mail, like there's maybe something legal, maybe like a cease and desist or something. The Heart, the Star, and the Dog. He's gonna focus on his relationships. Focus, my Minnesota accent came out. And his home life. I think he does feel a little bad. He feels embarrassed. Here we have like these two corners are, it may look like he's ignoring criticism about him and his work online, but it is actually getting to him. But he's, you know, still gonna mark it, so he's gonna pretend like it's not. He can kind of compartmentalize. He can still put himself out there and have his podcast and do whatever he wants. Even if his heart is not into it, he will still do it if that's what he thinks is the mission. Well, you know, a lot of this came out because of the hit piece. It wasn't supposed to be a hit piece. It was a journalist was going to write an article about how good he was, and then he started to investigate everything that Jay Shetty did, and he's like, wait a second, this guy is not good. He's like, I looked at his course and I contacted the places he said he's affiliated with, and they said they don't know him and his courses are not affiliated by him. And when I asked Jay Shetty's team about it, they told me to shut up and leave him alone, and they're going to threaten me. And then 2 weeks later, they took that information down from the website. So I think this is just showing, as well as him getting in some news, kind of hit piece came out, and that's the center of his life right now. Coming down the middle, the widespread about him, and that article has diminished his star. What do we have over here? Resurrection, traveling, the Dog. He's just gonna try to be home more. I wonder where he lives. He might try to like do a little monk thing. I see with this Stork him going to the mountains, which is funny because there's a card called Mountains, but yeah, he might be like, I'm on meditation to heal my soul or something. The Clover, the Tower, and the Heart. Maybe the repercussions from universities or institutions or governing bodies won't be as bad because he covered his ass, is what I heard. Like there might be a disclaimer. He might have to like take his stuff down or whatever, but I don't know how bad any repercussions are going to be. Mostly the repercussions are bad just because of his social media and star. But I see he's just going to keep floating by, and he's going to keep working. Same old is what I heard, but a different place and pared back. Okay, so it has affected him. I feel like I just heard him say it's not fair. It's not fair. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, he made so much freaking money. What do you mean it's not fair? You wanted to keep making another 100, 200 million? I think you're okay with what you have. So the whole point of this story for me is like, beware those people or anything, you know, that like over promise and under deliver, especially when it comes to your emotions. And we can nourish our emotions for free. I mean, of course, like go to therapy and like go to the doctor and have, you know, go out to dinner, and that costs money with your friends, and you know, but like we don't have to go to a guru. Not that you can't learn anything from them, but you don't have to give them $8,000. You can buy a book and probably learn just as much. And I'm just seeing people like putting hands on their bodies, like on their heart and their belly, and like coming into their own selves. You don't need what's outside of yourself. You have everything you need here to nourish yourself. I mean, of course, we do need some things like friends and family and whatever, but you don't need Jay Shetty or people like him. They can guide you to yourself. And here I'm seeing that he did not. It was a control dynamic between what is broken and the idea that he had something that could fix it. That's my reading. Thanks for listening. Bye.